Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. After a couple of previews and videos where I talk about various RPG mechanics, I decided to do a chill video where I talk about RPGs that I'm currently playing. It's a bit different from the usual content that you can see on this channel, so it should be interesting, I guess. You could see most of the games that I'm playing now in a couple of my previous videos, so it shouldn't be too unpredictable. Anyway, let's start in no particular order. I have a really interesting history with Kenshi. I used to buy a gaming magazine called Screen Fun, and back in 2013, Kenshi got featured in one of the articles. The world of Kenshi was described as sword punk, which I found really interesting. 2013 was also the year when a small team of developers started working on Kenshi, because up to that point, Kenshi was being developed by only one person. Fast forward to the late 2018, Kenshi got released and I bought it on Steam right away. I played a couple of hours, but I always got sidetracked with some other game and I never finished a playthrough. Well, it's time to change that. I started from the beginning with a new character and I'm taking my time because I actually want to review the game when I'm done. Whenever I talk about specific RPG mechanics in my videos, there is at least one comment about Kenshi. And since I like to compare mechanics and features from different RPGs, this game should give me a fresh perspective on things. If you somehow never heard about this game, which is highly unlikely because it got really popular, Kenshi is a sandbox RPG with real-time strategy elements. The setting is post-apocalyptic and the game is really challenging in the beginning when you don't know what you're doing. You can easily invest more than 100 hours in the game, and considering the price of only 26 euros, that's a great deal in my opinion. If you were not living under a rock, you probably know that we're getting an enhanced version of Kingdoms of Amalur called Re-Reckoning. Just a few days before THQ Nordic announced this remastered version of the game, I started playing Kingdoms of Amalur again. I just wanted to capture some footage for the video I was doing at that time, but I ended up starting another playthrough. That actually happens more often than you can imagine. I need to record a specific thing from a game and bam, I do a whole playthrough. Anyway, I talked about Kingdoms of Amalur in more than a couple of my videos. It's one of those great action RPGs that unfortunately got overshadowed by Skyrim. I plan to finish my current playthrough of the game just so I can compare the original with the remastered version and make a video about that. We talked about Re-Reckoning in one of my recent videos and I specifically focused on the gameplay improvements that we could see in the game. THQ Nordic was very vague when it comes to this, but there were obviously problems with the gameplay that should be addressed in the remastered version. What came as a surprise to me, they announced that we're actually getting some new content in the game as well called Fatesworn. Re-Reckoning will release in September, while Fatesworn expansion will come out next year. That being said, I wouldn't recommend playing the original game now, you should probably wait for the remastered version in September. Unless you really want to play it, then be my guest. A couple of months ago, I made a video about the action combat system in Ys games. And this kinda came as a surprise because I usually don't make videos about JRPGs. But I believe that every gamer who loves action RPGs should know something about the history of this genre. Ys games are a big part of this history, as well as the Dragon Slayer series from the same developer. I started playing all Ys games from the beginning, and Ys 8 was the only game that I didn't get the chance to play because originally it was released only on PS Vita. Now I decided to continue the playthrough that I started when I made that video. It's a really addicting game, especially because of the great action combat and boss fights. This game kinda changed the original formula of this series because you play it as a third-person action RPG. Previous games in the series had an isometric camera view. But this is a nice change in my opinion, and I'm glad they decided to do the same in the sequel as well. Ys 9 Monstrum Nox has been released in Japan for quite some time now, and it's coming to the West in 2021. And I'm really glad they decided to go with the same approach to the gameplay like in Ys 8. Anyway, I highly recommend Ys 8, it has a great gameplay and the story is pretty interesting actually.
My turn now!
The next RPG I'm playing might come as a surprise, because it's actually an MMORPG and you guys know me for single player RPGs. I started casually playing Arcade Unchained a few days ago and I'm having a lot of fun. The last MMO I played was World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth a few months ago, but I got extremely bored. And I didn't feel the need to play any MMOs for quite some time. I only got a couple of hours in Arcade so far and leveling feels quite solid for now. I used to be very serious when it comes to MMOs, like crazy serious, especially when it comes to WoW. But I realized that I can't play any other game if I'm playing some MMORPG every day. Just from time to time I get that MMO itch and I start playing something casually, and Arcade Unchained seems like a good choice. I will do a dedicated video for this game in the future, so stick around if you want to see that. The last RPG I'm playing won't come as a surprise to anyone who follows me for a while. Gothic III is definitely one of my most favorite games ever, so from time to time I come back to it for another playthrough. I realize that Gothic III is not the most beloved Gothic game, and objectively I can see why. I really love all Gothic games, but Gothic III has a special place in my heart. I can just explore this great open world and listen to the amazing soundtrack. Luckily the game has a strong replay value, so every time you come back to it you can play it differently. This time around, I want to do everything I can before I start working seriously for one faction. If you're not familiar with this game, it came out in 2006 and it was a buggy mess until some community patches came out. Nowadays, you don't have to worry about that if you plan to play it, just make sure you install a community patch. I would recommend playing this game as a mage character because the magic system in this game is pretty good. Even though the melee system is floaty as hell, I still prefer to play like this because I find it enjoyable for some reason. Just make sure you check the alternative AI in options because this will make the combat much better. Because NPCs will actually use their brain when you turn this on. When I'm done with this playthrough, I want to go back and start playing Gothic 2 and Gothic 1 again. And by the time I'm done, we should have more news about the remake of Gothic that's being developed as we speak. I'll need to talk about that remake a bit more on the channel in general. And that's pretty much it. Those are all the RPGs that I'm currently playing. I had a lot of fun putting this video together simply because it's a bit different from the usual content that I do on the channel. Tell me your opinions and what RPGs are you playing right now in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more content and click on the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads. Special thanks to my Patreons, and if you as well want to become one of them, all the links are in the description. Patreon is definitely the best place to directly support my work and every contribution is highly appreciated. That would be all, and I'll see you in the next one.